Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Five-Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We're your hosts today, TJ and Zach.
Hey.
Today, we got your final divisional preview. We're talking Montreal, Florida, Ottawa, and Toronto, closing out the Atlantic. Going to remind you guys one more time, we have our listener leagues going on. $2 a month through the Patreon. All proceeds and profits go to Mental Health America through that. You get in on the patron chat in the Discord. You get in on listener leagues. The chat by itself, I think, is worth it. Yeah, you can join the Fantasy Hockey Discord regardless of whatever you want to do, or you can find us on Twitter at FHF Hockey. Before we get into the preview here, we got a couple headlines, couple injuries that we need to talk about. Robin Leonard and Max Pacioretty. Robin Leonard is going to miss the entire 22-23 season. He's having hip surgery. You know, they don't have a timeline out for him yet, but he's not going to play. Looks like Logan Thompson, Laurent Brossoit, those are your Vegas Golden Knight goalies right now. How do you feel?
You know that I wasn't even in on Las Vegas this year anyway, so this really makes me feel better.
Do you think they go out and make a trade, or do you think they rock Logan?
I think they have to. They have Logan Thompson.
That is their MO.
I like Laurent Brossoit. Laurent Brossoit is a great backup goalie. I like him as a backup goalie. But, like, you can't go into, like, they have playoff aspirations, correct?
Yeah.
And I would imagine in their room, they have Stanley Cup aspirations. And with a goalie like Robin Leonard, then you can have those aspirations. You got to quell your own interest at that point. Like, you have to go out and get a goal. You have to. You gotta.
San Jose, baby. I know they're rivals and everything, but go get you a James Reimer. It's not going to be, you know, that's not a sexy goalie, but it's a goalie. And it's probably your cheapest option. I know there's guys in the Discord talking like, you know, Jake Allen, Linus Olmark. Everybody wants to throw their goalie at Vegas because they know they'll pay. But, man, that's tough. Pacioretty, going to be out till February. He's had Achilles surgery, same as Anthony Duclair, who we'll talk about in the Florida segment here. With these Achilles surgeries, they say 6 months. To be honest, I think that's a little bit optimistic. You know, Achilles surgeries are no joke, especially when you play so heavily on your ankle. Like, it's 3 to 6 months.
You're skating on ice.
Yeah.
It's incredibly important.
They say it's 3 to 6 months. 6 months if you, like, you know, for sports and things like that. Max Pacioretty's on the older side. I don't know. Regardless of that, like, I think February is optimistic. So I think we might be looking at March. You know, if you got an IR spot, maybe, like, if you have a ton of IR spots, for sure. But if you have one, I don't think that's, you know, that's not a hold I'm making to get a month or two out of Pacioretty.
If I had to get Achilles surgery, I feel like I would be out forever. Like, I would be out so long.
Yeah, we don't even use our ankles that much. Not as much as hockey players.
I suck. Why?
So I think Svechnikov is probably a lock for the top line. What do you think about Martin Necas at this rate? Like, you know, he was fourth line with that top six all kind of backlogged, but now he can come back into relevance. I know we were saying we were kind of over Martin Necas by now, but here he is again.
Well, how are you not going to be? He's definitely going to have a crack at that spot, but I don't think that it would be, you know, totally out of the realm of possibility that Andre Kasha doesn't move up to that second line spot too. Yeah,
they got Kasha. I like, I think Jarvis grabs that power play spot. So I think this is going to be a big year for Jarvis.
Yeah, I think people are high on Jarvis, and for good reason.
Yeah.
Like, he's stapled into that top six. Easy peasy.
That's my initial reaction as far as, like, the power play. You know, Jarvis gets that, but I think Necas comes back into the top six. You would hope that Svechnikov gets the top line spot. Rod Brindamore is nuts with his line combination, so it's hard to really project what 82 games as a lineup is going to look like, but that's where we're at for the headlines. That's what we got. Montreal is our first team on the docket. They finished DFL 29, 49, and 11. 27th goals for, 32nd in goals against per game. They had the 31st ranked power play. Only Philly had a worse power play, right? Third worst team save percentage.
Philly.
They've brought in Mike Matheson, Evgeny Dadonov, Kirby Dach, and they have lost Jeff Petrie and Alexander Romanov. That defense is brutal. It does not inspire confidence. If you had to pick somebody, who runs the power play?
Okay.
Because you do have to pick somebody.
You do have to pick somebody. DFO has Chris Weidman here, but that's not who I would put. If I had to pick somebody, I would put Mike Matheson there.
So would I. I did some digging into his metrics, offensive rate stats. He's 17th in the league at 5v5 points per 60 amongst D-men. You know, that's, you got like Spurgeon, Gostisbehere, Brandon Montour, Gustav Forzling, Noah Hannafin, all inside that range. He's got more points per 60 than Carlson, Doughty, Weegar, Theodore, 42nd in shots on goal per 60. He actually has really good offensive numbers, and 62nd in the league amongst D-men in assists per 60. So I do think Matheson's he should be the guy. Like, I know they leaned on Weidman last year. They didn't really have Petrie running that power play like a lot of us thought they would. You know, on paper, Petrie looks like the guy, but it was Chris Weidman. So maybe they go back to it. I don't know.
Even at that, all Chris Weidman had was 12 power play points, and they were all assists.
It's kind of like that Tony DeAngelo situation. Like, why, you know, I'm not exactly bumping somebody up my draft list if they're on the Montreal top power play. I think Montreal is going to be better this year, not by a ton, but, you know, you get a full year of Martin St. Louis, and a lot of these players got better under St. Louis here. What are the expectations for Montreal? Like, are they going for Bedard? I don't think they really have, like, this is not a competitive year for them.
I mean, whether they're going for Bedard or not, they're going to be in the Bedard sweepstakes.
Yeah.
Because let's just be honest, they don't have the depth. They really don't. I mean, you have Christian Dvorak is likely your second line center, and I am super down on a Dvorak. Like, he's a streamer at best, and that's your second line guy. For me, honestly, your only lock here is Nick Suzuki. And then, I mean, you're kind of looking elsewhere and kind of hoping. You're hoping that you can get a Mike Hoffman from, 2018-19, where he's scoring 35 power play points. You're hoping that Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki keep on, growing what they've been doing. Now, Caulfield had a really slow beginning to last year. Now, he evened out a little bit, but Nick Suzuki was by far just the best player on the team. And he had like 61 points or something like that, and he was the team leader in just about everything offensive.
He was 21 goals, 40 assists, 61 points was their team lead. Then you had Cole Caulfield with 43 and Mike Hoffman with 35 points. Both Caulfield and Hoffman played 67 games. If you remember, Caulfield got sent down to the AHL early in the season, but after St. Louis came in, that was on February 9th. From February 9th on, Cole Caulfield had 35 points in 37 games. Crazy good stat line. And when you look at like Nick Suzuki under Martin St. Louis, 75-point pace. And he had a 49-point pace under Dominic Ducharme. So it really is not even a tale of two seasons, a tale of two coaches here. Like, he broke the 60-point threshold. He seemed to really thrive under Martin St. Louis. He's got a really good defensive game. You got Caufield on his wing. I think there's a sniper there to pass to. If it's Mike Hoffman on the top line too, you got two of them. Hoffman likes to shoot too. So I know you said Suzuki's a lock. I do think Cole Caulfield's a lock too.
I'll give you Cole Caulfield, because I do believe that, with St. Louis there, he's going to make both of them better. But I think Suzuki was on the right trajectory either way. Cole Caulfield, I feel like, could have sputtered if he didn't have the right direction. But hey, I've been big on Nick Suzuki for quite some time.
How about this stat here? Cole Caulfield was on a 49-goal pace under Martin St. Louis. I'm taking the under. I want to start there. But, his stats were really good. 114 shots in 37 games. Shot around at 20%.
Yeah, 3 shots on goal per game. That's sweet.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on Cole Caulfield at in our mocks, he's been going pretty late. And, it's a good find because those wingers are hard to come by later on and not only that, but goals are hard to come by later in the draft. So Caulfield is a good late round draft target there. After that, I mean, those are the locks. I felt like I needed to pad this top fantasy target segment. So I put like Dadonov, Josh Anderson, Mike Hoffman in here, but they're all question marks to me. Dadonov, I'm not sure where he's going to fit in the lineup. I think he's got a little bit left in the tank. Like, I'm not expecting huge things from him. Josh Anderson, again, if he's top line, I could see him kind of like being a mini TJ Oshie. And that's, how I feel about TJ Oshie. So shots are good. Hits are good. Point production's not bad, but it's not good. He is a right wing, so there's a bonus there. If he's on line 2, I'd be way less interested, if Hoffman's on line 1. So it's really whoever's on line 1 is kind of the streamer there.
Yeah, I agree, but I do definitely have Josh Anderson on my list. I mean, you're definitely getting those hits. And really what you're hoping for is the offensive upside, because the offensive upside most assuredly is there. So you always have to like him. I mean, he's more of a streamer for me. I could see him getting drafted more in, banger leagues and stuff like that. But in your, average points league, he's definitely more of a streamer.
Yeah, and he hits on certain nights too. So if you wind up streaming him on the right night, like Josh Anderson is so boom or bust, he'll get you like 3 goals and an assist, or he'll get you nothing.
And 8 hits.
His stat lines are like, just boom or bust. There's no better way to put it. Mike Matheson I got here just because I do think he'll wind up on the top power play. Is like real deep league. D if you need it.
Hey, but I'm glad that we agreed on that. I feel like I had the right answer.
I had all those rate stats lined up. I did. I did my digging. Did my numbers nerdy stuff. So Brendan Gallagher I have on here just because I miss him. I miss him so much. He was so fun.
So bad last year.
Oh, man.
So bad.
I miss him. He was such a stud. Like 50 points, a bunch of shots, and a bunch of hits. It was just great. Kirby Dach next up. Dach doesn't do a ton. He'll be on my watch list. Like if he starts shooting or he finds himself in the top 6, I think a spot start is worth it. But as it stands, he's never broken 2 shots a game for a season. He's consistently under a hit a game. Doesn't take a ton of face-offs and hasn't hit his stride offensively. So he's on my watch list, and that's as far as I'm willing to go with him right now. Like, Montreal is obviously a new start for him. So we're hoping that he takes off at this point, but we haven't really seen it. So we'll see what he looks like in Montreal now.
But centers are so deep.
Yeah.
That's
and
the thing. Centers are so deep.
We already kind of talked about how you feel about Christian Dvorak, the 2C. Now we're talking about the 3C in Montreal, and it gets a little more bleak. Down the road, sure, like I love his dynasty outlook could be great, but I haven't seen it yet. So right now I'm not interested at this point. In terms of goaltending, you got Carrie Price, you got Jake Allen. Carrie Price, he's rumored, the reports are saying that he's going to be physically ready for training camp, but mentally we don't know. Like obviously there was last year we heard about his addiction, and hopefully he's progressing in overcoming that addiction. All the love in the world for Carey Price. If he's back in the net, I think Montreal wins a couple more games for sure. Like Price can steal games, no problem. And he is a good solid volume guy, but Jake Allen, you got to be confident in him as a backup even. Like he's been starter. And I don't know. The goaltending tandem.
I just like him a lot more as a backup.
The goaltending tandem is definitely the best part of the team. Like they've got good goalies that can win games.
As long as Carey Price is playing, then yes, you can say that.
Yeah. Their prospects they drafted first this year, they took Uri Slafkovsky. They've got Caden Gooley, Sean Farrell, Jordan Harris, Jesse Ylönen, Caden Primo. Pretty good prospect pool here.
I like Caden Primo.
Moving on to Florida. Florida finished first. They were the President's Trophy winner, 58-18-6. First in goals for. They were the highest scoring team since the 95-96 Penguins. 12th in goals against per game. 5th ranked power play.
Most shots on goal.
Is that true?
Good.
Yeah?
Yes. Most shots on goal per game.
15th in team save percentage. Power play ranked 5th. Buckle up. Their key additions and subtractions is lengthy. They added Matthew Tkachuk, Rudolph Balcers, Michael Del Zotto, Jerry Mayhew, Chris Tierney, Mark Stahl. They lost Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, Mason Marchment, Claudia Rue, Nola Shari, Marcus Nudavara, Ben Sherratt. That's a lot. That's like half a team right there.
just weighing all those names, like in your, mental Libra scale, which do you feel like is heavier?
What they lost.
So do I.
Yeah. It's hard for my heart to say it, but this is a worse team. My head, it's easy. Like, this is not as good a team as it was last year.
They're still going to be very good.
I think
Don't
so,
get
too.
me wrong.
Yeah.
But they're in the shadow of last year's team.
What's fun is that we're going to get a new Carter Verhage this year. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's Rudolph Balcers that comes up onto the top line and winds up, surprising a lot of people. Or maybe it's Carter Verhage again, takes off from his 60-point ways and goes into the 70-point threshold. It all depends on where Matt Tkachuk fits in the lineup. Daily Faceoff right now has him on the right wing with Verhage on the left, Barkov in the middle, which sucks for Sam Bennett because he's losing a Huberdeau caliber player on that line. It could be Matt Tkachuk. Maybe they wind up putting him on the second line. You never know.
I mean, that hurts to Sam Reinhart too, unless Sam Reinhart gets put on that top right wing.
That's what
because
I
he
hope
is
happens.
a right winger.
That's what I hope happens, to be honest.
You're hoping that Reinhart moves to the right wing or just stays on the right wing, top line, and Tkachuk is on the left?
Yeah, because remember, we have Paul Maurice, when he was in Winnipeg, threw all the minutes at like Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, that line, all the minutes. So I wonder if he sticks with his stack the top line approach and just fills out the bottom nine. Their points leaders, new points leader is Matthew Tkachuk, had 42 goals, 62 assists for 104 points in a full season. Barkov had 39 goals, 49 assists for 88 points in 67 games, 108-point pace. Sam Reinhart was 82 points in 78 games. First year for him over point per game. Aaron Ekblad, 57 points in 61 games, a 78-point pace for Aaron Ekblad. I just hate that we always need to say pace with him now. Like the last 3 seasons, he hasn't been healthy.
But he is so good when he's playing. He is such a big part of how that offense runs. Like, they just swing it around, and he touches the puck constantly. I mean, they scored a ton of goals last year. He was a part on a large amount of them. I mean, he's got to be out there.
Do you think he's injury prone? Would you consider him injury prone? Like, when you break your ankle or you break your leg or something like that, that doesn't seem like something that that can happen to anybody. And maybe it's just coincidence that it happened a bunch of years in a row. It's not like he's dislocating his shoulder a bunch or pulling something that he keeps pulling.
A bunch of the same injury.
His injuries are accidents. Maybe he's accident prone, but I don't know if he's injury prone.
Yes, I mean, it has been 3 years of
pace
under 70 games and 1 year under 40. So
well, that was the 56 game season. So got to give him that.
That's true.
All right, top fantasy targets. Who are you taking first, Barkov or Tkachuk?
Barkov.
Me too. Yeah, he's consistently dominant.
108-point pace, flat out elite. There's no ifs, ands, or buts for me. And I don't really see too much of a drop-off for him with Huberdeau gone, except for the power play. He might not have as many power play points, but I still think that he's a 100-point pace guy easy because, he really didn't play with Huberdeau that much except for on the power play. He actually played with Carter Verhage more than anyone else last year.
Yeah, I think there was like 200 minutes that he and Huberdeau overlapped at even strength. And I looked into it. There was like 13 points where they combined. So it's not, he can get 13 points from Matthew Tkachuk. So I really don't see his point pace dropping at all.
Hey, I got the right answer again.
100 points or 90 points, like he's, had he played a full season, he'd have been 100 points, like we're saying. The shots are over 3, great at face-offs. The power play points are just out of this world. Potentially adding Tkachuk to your wing, like his line mates last year didn't have a Tkachuk. 75% of his season was away from Huberdeau. Now you're going to get Tkachuk there, hopefully. He was 1 goal away from his first 40-goal season, coincided with a career-high shooting percentage. So, we've said it over and over again. This is the highest-scoring team since the 90s. And as a whole, there's got to be a step back. Even if this was the same team last year as it is this year, even with Giroux and, Huberdeau and Uyghur and everything, I would still be projecting them for less points overall. That said, I still like Barkov for 100.
Oh, so do I. So do I, because I think he can drive his own play. They're still going to be a really good team. It's not like all of a sudden they're a bad team. They're not a bottom of the barrel team. They're still a playoff team. I just don't think that they are the cup contender that they were last year. As far as Tkachuk goes, I think he is going to be, pinned to Barkov this year, because let's be honest, do you see Matt Tkachuk as a drive your own line kind of guy? I personally don't.
I think he's got it.
Huberdeau was.
Yeah, not to the level of Huberdeau. I think he's a play driver, but it's hard to tread water with Huberdeau. Matthew Tkachuk himself, his point paces since entering the league is 104 this year, 63 last year, 72 the year before that, 79, 59, 52. That's the type of player we're talking about. Somebody that exploded for almost 50% more points. Really, it's like 35% more points, but it's closer to that. It's closer to 50 than 0. Calgary was on fire this year. So was Florida. So one could say that this should be seamless. Obviously, there's chemistry, which is variable. We can't project here, and you can't quantify that. But these are two high-powered offenses, so Tkachuk could be 90 to 100 points once again. Point per game, over/under, over. 90 points.
Yes.
I probably still take the over. The ceiling is still there for 100 points.
I actually have him between 85 and 90. That's where I put him. So in what I had written down, I think that he is, or has obviously the possibility of being a point per game player, or not point per game, absolutely 100-point player, along with Barkov. That depends on, is he playing with Barkov pretty much the entire season? That is a big part of that 100-point if. Also, you don't really know what happens. Now you talked about chemistry, and that's kind of what I play it to. He's going to a new team, completely new line mates, everything like that. I kind of am leaning more towards below 90, It makes more sense to me. And if he does get 100, then I'm happy about it. But I don't know. I'm going to take the under on that 90.
I feel comfortable between 90 and 95. So I think I would hedge my bets towards the over on 90, to be honest.
But at the end of the day, whether I get a 88-point, Matt Tkachuk or a 92-point Matt Tkachuk, you're still getting a fantastic player. So, I know we kind of debate these, the minutia, if you will. You know what I mean? Whether that really matters in the long run. We're like, no, man, you're fucking wrong. I'm taking the under. But at the end of the day, he's still going to be a great player, but I really think that those points are going to not totally depend on Barkov, but it is going to be a big piece of the fucking puzzle.
You see what happened to his hits this year. He went from 2.4 to 1.1 per game from last year to this year.
Is that because,
he had the puck so much? I wonder.
I was going to say just the offense had the puck so much.
Yeah. So you're not really hitting when you have the puck. And I think they were, just looking at them, they were like plus 60, all of them. So you got to figure they're probably a good offensive line, the best, if not. But yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that.
65% this year.
Yeah. That's
crazy.
Possession.
It's supposed, so just for everybody that knows, it's supposed to be, if it's above 50, that's good. That means they're controlling the puck more than not. You know what I mean? 65% is fucking crazy.
Yeah,
it's
plus
crazy.
15 there. I think Maurice is the kind of guy to stack a top line. We don't know yet if he could be kind of circa Huberdeau here, where he's on the second line just to spread the wealth a little bit. But, what Maurice did with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, I think really they're gonna stack the top line. I do. And that sucks for other guys. I would love Sam Reinhart, Barkov, and Tkachuk as a top line. Reinhart himself had his first point per game season on the back of 31 power play points. I think his top power play spot is safe for this year, but that top power play was huge for him this year. Huge. I didn't want to skip over Aaron Ekblad yet. That's the guy I had third. So I had Barkov, Tkachuk, Ekblad.
He is actually also who I had third. And then I got Sam Reinhart next, but we'll get that.
In terms of tier 2, for defensemen, he's, right at the top for me. Right at the top. Like 3 shots a game. Not much for hits and blocks, but the offense is just out of hand. Like 77-point pace this year. I don't know if I'm ready to call him injury prone. He broke his leg and then he twisted his ankle back in the most disgusting fashion. These are accidents that happen to people, but he'll keep putting himself in those positions because he is such a huge part of the defense.
Because he's Aaron Ekblad. Yeah, he's going to go get at it.
So it could happen, but there was a guy in the Discord talking about Kucherov, and he was just like, I don't know if I can do this for Kucherov. Like he was like, he's injury prone, and they're gonna put him on IR for the cap. And I was like, dude, that's how you lose a league. Is turning down Kucherov because you think Tampa's cheating. But I don't know. I'm confidently drafting Aaron Ekblad this year, no problem. Sam Reinhart. Everything that's been said. I want to start, if he does get another shot on the top line, I think another point per game season is more than likely on the way. There's a bump in line mates for him, which could wash out the regression that I have for, Florida as a whole. I really like Sam Reinhart here.
How can you not love the Sloth? How can you not love the Sloth? He is awesome. This is his first 30 goals season, and it's not because he had some sort of wild shooting percentage or anything like that. Shooting percentage actually went down from last year. What happened was he took more shots. And, had a shooting percentage that was still right on, his right a little bit above his career average. But you take more shots, you put in more goals.
16 power play goals. That definitely helps.
He's still taking more shots. I like the shots. He had his first season. Actually, no, it's his second season above 300 shots in general. Shots attempted, that is. But dude, I like Sam Reinhart. And I also think that there's a chance that he does get that top line time. Because I think what could happen is what you want to happen. I mean, that's probably what I would do if I was Florida. I would put Tkachuk on the left where he's supposed to be and have Sam Reinhart play a true right wing. And just roll out. I mean, you're going to have a stacked top line and a decent second line. It's not like you're not. But I mean, someone's going to have to move over, whether it's Carter Verhage or Rudy Balls. Someone's going to have to because they're both, really strict left wingers.
And I wonder if it's time for Anton Lundell to take 2C. Like you bump Sam Bennett over.
Oh, I like Sam Bennett though.
Make him a fucking winger. They did it in Calgary. I know he can do it. You have a backup guy for faceoffs, and Anton Lundell. Like I don't know what they do at 4C now, but until Duclair gets back, they could potentially ride Lundell as a 2C with Bennett on a wing. Your top six at that point.
That would be a stacked top six. That would be a stacked top six.
You give them like 40 minutes of the game, yeah, and then you're just the other 20 minutes of the game you're crushing people with. Ryan Lomberg, is he still on that team? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But Patrick Hornquist, you're just crushing bodies, man. Carter Verhage is my next option. It would have been Anthony Duclair if he wasn't out until January-ish. He's going to miss like half the season. And that happened like a month ago. So, it's about the same timeline as Max Pacioretty. But here with Carter Verhage, first line, second line, he's good. 50 to 60 points if he's on the second line, 60 to 70 if he's on the top line. Like daily faceoff right now has Verhage projected as left wing 1 with Tkachuk on the right side, Barkov in the middle. Carter Verhage is pretty much just offensive stats. He's not much for any of the periphery, but I had him here nonetheless as one of my top targets.
Well, I think daily faceoff has him there because he spent so much of his time last year along with Barkov. It's clear that they do obviously have like a rapport. I'm probably a little higher on Carter Verhage than you are, but I do agree that it strictly depends on that top line spot, which I think he's good enough to have it. I mean, he had a great year last year, and I'm still in for Carter Verhage, but we'll see.
For my streamer level players, I want to very strongly make a case for Gustav Forzling as the next Mackenzie Weegar, without the periphery.
I like Gustav Forzling. He's on my list too.
I think he's going to be Ekblad's partner at even strength.
So do I, but I don't think that he's not Mackenzie Weegar. I like Gustav Forzling, and he also has offensive upside like Weegar does.
Yeah.
But he's no Mackie Weegs.
You're not going to get the hits and blocks from Forzling, and the defense is just not the same. With like Weegar is such a good defensive presence. It's hard to really understate how important Weegar was and what Calgary is getting. Forsberg in terms, or Forzling rather, in terms of offensive metrics, the points per 60, Weegar was 32nd. Forzling was actually 21st. So he's got the edge there. Primary assists, Weegar was 17th. Forzling was 32nd. 5v5 assists per 60, 22nd for Weegar, 29th for Forzling. 5v5 goals per 60, Forzling was 15th. Weegar was 96th. So I think the offensive transition is really not going to, there's not going to be any speed bumps here. Forzling was on a 43-point pace, and that was without Ekblad. Weegar, for all the love that he got, obviously it was the 2 blocks, 2 hits, 2 shots, 2.5 shots a game. But he was on a 45-point pace. So Forzling was almost there without Ekblad. So I really wonder what an offensive season looks like from Forzling on Ekblad's pairing. If he gets Weegar's minutes, I think he could catch him in shots. I don't think the hits and blocks will ever be there. He's not going to be as valuable in fantasy leagues that counted that. But for offense, I think Forzling is a pretty sneaky, end of your decor option here. Really sneaky.
I mean, Mackenzie Weegar only had 2 minutes more time on ice per game.
You can get half a shot in there. You could definitely get half a shot. I'm about to take half a shot right now.
You can. I mean, and you're making me feel bad for rooting against Gustav Forzling now, because I can't see a world where he's the new Mackie Weeks. I mean, I like Gustav Forzling, and I have him on my streamer bit here. But
he'll never be a Mackenzie Weegar, and it's because of the periphery. But if you don't think that, Weegar was on a 45-point pace, Forzling was on 43, if you don't think Forzling can put up 45, 2 extra points over 82 games playing with Ekblad and the big boys at even strength, I wonder if, 48 to 50 isn't possible. Really, really sneaky.
I could see it as possible. But he's still a streamer. He's a watch list guy for me.
I love him as on the back half, especially points leagues with muted hits and blocks, banger points, and even Sam Bennett.
So I was just gonna say you have him ahead of Sam Bennett, and you love Sam Bennett.
I don't really. I'm gonna be honest
with
you.
Bags, baby.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't really order. I just put names down. I don't put it in order.
Fair enough.
And I wish Sam Bennett would get back to it. Losing Huberdeau is tough, and that's where I wrote about potentially Lindell moving up. Bennett moves over, and then you have a Verhage, Lindell, Bennett top 6 to go with your Tkachuk, Barkov, Reinhart. That's a mean top 6. That's not bad. Bennett's a lock for 50 points. 60, 65 is a pretty comfortable ceiling. The hits are always over 100. Good face-off numbers. Tons of shots. This year it's been way underreported. His shots exploded. Almost 3.5. Career high before this was 2.2 per game. Blew past it. 3.4 this year. Incredible.
He attempted almost 400 shots.
What a guy.
Almost 400 fucking shots. It's crazy.
And then I got Anthony Duclair here, due back around January. You got to keep tabs on the guy. I think there's some pretty valuable wing spots in the top 6 that he could be snatching up, looking at January, February-ish. And then there's, the bangers. Radko Gudas, Patrick Hornqvist. I like Anton Lindell as, if he's 3C, he's kind of a deep league hold or deep league stream. And then, Brandon Montour too, man. He could be power play too.
Thank you. Jesus, I'm sitting over here just fucking twiddling my thumbs. Just waiting for you to bring up Brandon Montour. And if you weren't, I was going to sneak him in there. Jesus. I like Brandon Montour, man. He's a great streamer. He has offensive upside, almost a hit and almost a block a game. He's not someone that, you're drafting. You're not going to have to even waste a draft pick on him. But you can pick him up, and he has potential. He just does. Do you think he even sees some second power play time? He's played on the power play before.
Yeah. I think Montour gets it. Maybe Paul Maurice has a different opinion. Maybe it's Forzling. But Montour was there last year, and they picked Montour over Forzling. There's got to be a reason for it.
Yeah, I like Brandon Montour. Thank you for bringing that up.
The offensive profile of Forzling, Uyghur, and Montour is insane. Like, they're consistently all top 40, top 30 guys in rate metrics, leading offensive. It's crazy. Like, great offensive team. Defense, man, they're going to be in trouble, and that makes me really worried for Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight. Like, if we're ready to talk about, unless there's anybody else you wanted to talk about, Rudy Balcers, did you have anything for him?
No. I have him in my streamer section, but I'm not a Rudolph Balcers guy. We'll see if he does somehow make it into that top 6. Then he's a lot more attractive. But even at that, like, I think, that top 6 has a chance to be streamy already, especially with like a Sam Bennett.
So deployment based stream, if he gets a chance, then absolutely. But more than likely, he's probably bottom 6. That brings us to the goaltending. Is this the year that Spencer Knight takes volume?
No.
That's all I wrote too. Just no.
Like, I would love to see Spencer Knight in a more, prominent role than he currently is, but they're just paying Bobrovsky way too much money to have Spencer Knight be taking a bulk of the games. It just doesn't make sense. You can't do that. I mean, I guess you can, like, if you really feel that fucking strongly about it, but that's what you're saying to Sergei Bobrovsky is, all right, man, this is going to be the end of the road here for you soon because you make too much money and you're not playing.
That's the argument that always comes up, and it's just...
It's going to be hard to trade him, too.
It's a sound argument. He's making $10 million. That's not your 1B.
Jesus.
Yeah, I worry about their defense, so that's going to be tough. But they picked up Mark Stahl, so it should all be better. Prospects.
This is so bad at breakaways.
They traded all of their first-round picks until 2026, so Grigory Denisenko, that's probably as good as you're going to get. They got Mackie Samoskevich, Justin Sourdeef. Moving on to Ottawa, baby. Moving on to Ottawa. They finished 26th last year, 33, 42, and 7, 26th in goals for, 11th most goals against per game. 20th ranked power play, 16th in team save percentage. That's actually pretty impressive. Key additions, they brought in Alex DeBrincat, Claudia Rue, Cam Talbot. This is some fantasy GM shit, dude. Like, you go out and you get the big names. Out, Matt Murray, Connor Brown, Michael Del Zotto, Philip Gustafsson, Chris Tierney, Adam Gaudette, Victor Mete. They upgraded. This is a better team.
I was just going to say, so let's do that Libra scale thing again.
They got better.
It's like on the floor.
Question marks for this team. Cam Talbot, Anton Forsberg split. What are you projecting here? Do you think it's a tandem?
So I'd have to, I want to say Talbot. Like, I want to say Talbot.
It is Talbot.
I want to say Talbot should not be a split. I think it should, at the very most, be a 60-40.
And I'm hearing that it's a tandem a lot. Like, that's the word, but I don't buy it. Talbot did everything but ask for a trade out of Minnesota as soon as they re-upped Marc-Andre Fleury. Like, he saw the writing on the wall. He knew he was about to be in a shared net, and he wanted out. He doesn't want to be in a shared net. So I think there's got to be certain assurances from Ottawa that, like, he is the starter. He wouldn't have gotten traded somewhere to be in another shared net after, he reading between the lines. He essentially asked for a trade
to Edmonton.
Maybe he would have got volume. I think, what did he get? 73 games that year.
That would have been cool.
That was good times. It was like Devin Dubnyk versus Cam Talbot days. That was good shit. All right, another question mark. Who gets bumped to power play 2 with Giroux and DeBrincat additions? Now, before I get your answer here, I think there is an argument for Giroux on power play 2. I think it's a bad argument, but it's an argument. Daily Faceoff suggests that Giroux is here on power play 2. The only reasoning, the only logic behind this that I can think of is to mentor Tim Stoots, teaching him what to do. Like, at even strength, it's Giroux and Stoots. And on the power play, it's Giroux and Stoots. And you got Matheson. Matheson's pretty good up there anyway. Like, why not keep him up there and then mentor Stoots? That's the only argument that I could see.
I mean, if somebody's coming off of that first power play unit, though, it's it's D-Bath.
Over Stoots?
100%. It's what?
DeBrincat pushed Stoots out, but Giroux can
Yes,
push
I'm saying.
Matheson out.
Yeah. I have DeBrincat on the first power play unit already. I thought we were talking about whether or not Giroux was going to be there. I think DeBrincat is a fucking lock for first power play unit. If he's not, then they're stupid.
No. Don't get me misunderstood. I thought you were saying, when you said if somebody's getting pushed off, it's going to be Matheson. I thought you were between Stoots and Matheson.
in lieu of Giroux. I thought that was the
all right.
The conversation we were having.
We're on the same page. We are on the same page. Yes.
Yeah. No.
Let's calm down. Calm down.
Get me all fucking riled up to start talking about Alex DeBrincat.
Their leaders are Alex DeBrincat, Brady Kaczuk, and Claude Giroux. DeBrincat had 78 points in 82 games. Tkachuk had 67 points. Giroux had 65 in 75. Top fantasy targets. Who's going first?
Brady Kaczuk.
I think there's definitely a certain type of league where he goes first, but I think it's the other type of league. It's DeBrincat.
I think he is so well-rounded. It's hard for me not to like Brady Kaczuk as far as fantasy goes. I don't like his face, but the way he plays hockey, he just does everything, and he does so much of it.
But if you're not counting hits, pims, or blocks or shots, it's DeBrincat.
Okay, if it's just straight points leagues, then yes, I'll give you that. And even at that, I think Josh Norris is close there because you have to at least see what Alex DeBrincat is going to do without having a Patrick Kane alongside him. So just to automatically put Alex DeBrincat at the number one spot, as much as I like him, I can't do that right now.
This is a 68-point pace for Norris. I think it's easy to put DeBrincat at number one. Being honest,
not over in points leagues. I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
and that makes me feel bad because I feel like I'm arguing against my guy.
All right, let's start with DeBrincat, and then we'll go to Brady. DeBrincat is going to bring that offensive presence. Assuming that he's going to line up with Stoots and Giroux, I think there's going to be more offensive zone starts there, and
which I love that line.
There's going to be less offensive zone starts to go around. So that, I'm not saying that Norris, Tkachuk, and Matheson are going to be a defensive zone start line, just that they're not going to be as heavily used offensively. That's what I mean. Do you think DeBrincat scores 40 goals here? I think Giroux is just as good a playmaker as Kane, and I don't hate it. I think he's a lock for 35. Very, very possible for 40.
I love Tim Stoots.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Lock. I think he's a lock for 30 goals.
30 goals, yeah, no doubt. 35 or 40.
And a very real possibility of backing up and having two 40-goal seasons in a row.
I think
he's already had two in his career already, and it wasn't just a fluke.
Next up, I think Brady Kaczuk, Alex DeBrincat, that can be your one overall. Remember last year I said that if Brady Kaczuk got his shooting percentage to 10%, he would hit 30 goals? It happened. Now imagine what happens if he goes on a bender. He's like a 300-shot kind of guy. Love Brady. Love him. He is a multi-cat maniac. If you don't know who he is, I don't know what to tell you. He hits a lot. He shoots a lot. He's good. The sky's the limit. Josh Norris, baby. Great point pace overall, 68 points in the breakout year. As the power play rises in value, so does Norris. He had 16 power play goals this year in 66 games played. There's some regression, but I think it gets washed out because the team has gotten that much better. So I think we're looking at another 70-point season. I think it's there.
So do I. And he took such a big step last year, not only in, time on ice, but shots attempted, shots on goal. Now, he did have a beefed up shooting percentage last year, but he was from a 17% to a 20%. Now, that's saying that likely he's at, if he drops down, what are you thinking he's going to drop down to? Maybe a 15 or 16% possibly. You don't see him going down to, single digits by any means, or even below 15. He's going to continue to do, be on the progression that he's on. He is also a 30-goal scorer. I do. I truly believe that Josh Norris is a 30-goal scorer, and I think he's a fantastic centerman. He's great at faceoffs. He'll give you a little bit of hits, not a ton on blocks, but just under a block per game. I think he's an incredibly well-rounded player, and that top line is an incredibly well-rounded top line. That's why I don't think that's why I really do. I think that DFO does have this one right with Drake Batherson being on the top line along with Norris and Tkachuk, because they have such a rapport already. And man, that second line of possibility of DeBrincat, Stützle, and Giroux, man, like that is fucking sexy.
They've already come out. DJ Smith said that Stoots is playing with DeBrincat, and you have to imagine that Giroux is there too for it. So I'm right there. Does his shooting percentage worry you, Josh Norris? That is.
No, that's what I was just talking about. I mean, I think if there is a dip, it's gonna. I think you could see a 15 or 16%. Now, do I think it's going to be 20% again? No, but I mean, he went from a 17% to a 20%. That's not that crazy of a thing. He's going to be stacked on that top line, stacked on that top power play unit. I don't think that it's going to drop too much. Do I think it's going to be below 20%? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that a 15, 16% is not going to be that big of a drop-off. And if he continues to be on the shot trend that he's on, he's still going to be a 30-goal scorer, and he's still going to be I'm thinking more like a, 65, 70-point guy. Nothing crazy, but I think he could break 70 points.
All right, Timmy Stoots, that's who I got up next. I think Ottawa went and bought him a line. They bought him a whole line to bring out in Giroux.
He's got to be feeling good, right? He's got to be happy. He's got to be happy. How could you not be?
He built onto his rookie season. He was absolutely buoyed by 27 power play points. He's going to feel that. He's going to feel it. Without that top power play, he's going to feel it. But you give him 5v5 line mates like DeBrincat and Giroux, I think everything washes out. We're on pace to see another really great season out of him. It just sucks because it's going to be, the power play isn't going to be as big of a factor for him.
I'll give you that, because there's no way he's getting on that top power play unless there are some serious injuries. So the three players that he played with the most last year: Connor Brown, Alex Forman, Adam Gaudette. Those are the three players he played with the most last year. Now this year instead, you're going to be looking at a Claude Giroux, Alex DeBrincat, and we can even just leave Alex Fermenton in there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We'll just leave him in the mix. Let's do those Libra scale things again on the floor. Like it's going to be a completely different year for Tim Stützle. I'm actually very high on Tim Stützle, and for the sole reason of just proximity to these new players that are so much better than what he's played with before. Tim Stützle is going to be a late round steal. I don't think people are going to be looking to draft him anytime early. He is going to be a diamond in the rough.
It's amazing how many top fantasy targets we have in Ottawa. Drake Batherson up next. Now, tough conversation on the way. I'm a bit nervous with this World Juniors sexual assault stuff. Like, not a lot of people want to touch this conversation. Batherson has not come out with a statement saying that he wasn't part of it, and he's one of the only ones who hasn't done it. So, I don't want to read between the lines or connect dots that might not even be there, but it is something to worry about. And it is so much bigger than fantasy hockey. So I don't know what to do at this point. Obviously, if something happened, then he's got to face that music. But if nothing happened, then we can talk about this, without that in the equation. And without that in the equation, Batherson is a very rare breed in fantasy. You get hits, you get shots, you get power play points, you get everything you want in a very well-rounded fantasy player, regardless of the format. 78-point pace this year. You can hit point per game with Batherson here. If he keeps power play 1, it's well within reach. Where are you at with Drake Batherson kind of as a whole?
I'm not gonna lie, I am a little bit worried about the World Junior stuff that you had brought up. But I mean, if he ends up playing, I feel like I'm actually maybe a little higher on him than you are this upcoming year, because I mean, I feel like I've spoken a little more highly of him. Now he has a problem with not playing that much. He was out for a big chunk of time last year, about half the year. but was on a, played very well. He had just under a point per game this past year. I think that he is a point per game player, and he's definitely going to be on that top line with Norris. But I think that kind of, I see his ceiling at, right around a point per game. I don't think that he's a 90-point player, but I think that he is an 82.5-point player.
On the dot.
On the dot.
That's a push.
82.5 points.
Yeah. Time is going to tell what happens with this investigation and that, but it is very real around Drake Batherson. Like, it sucks. It's hard to talk about. That's a very real concern when it comes to his fantasy outlook. And it seems so fucking selfish to talk about it like that. When real lives were affected. And I don't know. I hope justice comes one way or another. And we'll revisit in a year. Claudia Rue, another top fantasy target here. We've seen every single season that there is to see from Giroux. We've seen over 100 points. We've seen 50. We've seen 70. We've seen 90. This is the first we're going to see him in Ottawa. And he's meshed really well and immediately in Florida. So I don't think I have any worries about whether or not he can make an impact right out of the gate in Ottawa. Stoots and DeBrincat as line mates, so that's a good place to be. Right wing does dry up quick, and he's often dual eligible, so I think that's really good late round value. Power play 1 Giroux, power play 2 Giroux could both happen. He's one of the best distributors in the game, so it might be unwise for him to be on power play 2. But again, there's an argument there because you could do the whole mentor-mentee thing with Timmy Stoots, so I just don't know where to project him right now. In terms of, power play deployment.
I mean, even on Philly last year, he was, not that far under a point per game. But once he was in Florida, he scored 23 points in 18 games for Florida. Fantastic. I think that he is your generic locker room guy, veteran player. You know what I mean? He is a Swiss Army knife. He's going to be able to fit into, different styles of play. And I do. I love that line. And I'm really excited to see what him and DeBrincat and Stützle can do. Mainly what him and, DeBrincat can do for Stützle.
Just those two players, they are a fantastic yin and yang here. Like, Giroux is, again, one of the best playmakers in the game. And then you have DeBrincat, who's just an elite sniper.
And you want to have a guy that, if Stützle is going to be taking the bulk of your face-offs, a guy that can come in from the side, for Claude Giroux and win 60% of his face-offs. Like, he's been a part of Philadelphia teams in the past couple of years where while they have been bad, they have been one of the best face-off teams in the entire league. And that's not exactly something that Tim Stützle is fantastic at. So having Claude Giroux on the ice with him, where he can maybe, take a little more of those face-offs for him, I think is just a fantastic, great idea.
Next up, we got Thomas Chabot, perennially underdrafted, constantly brings heat. Think of the power play 1 that he's about to go on. Like, everybody else is kind of a question mark. There's a couple locks, Josh Norris, Alex DeBrincat, Thomas Chabot. He's going to be on this top power play. Is the peripheries okay? The time on ice is legendary. I like Chabot. He's been going, pretty late in our drafts, our mock drafts. It's going to bring value.
I mean, I think Chabot is a great play this year. I had him 4th on my list because I did do it in order, but that's only because of what he is. What he is as a defenseman, what I think he's capable of doing. Like, he was on a great point pace this year for a defenseman, and it's just going to rise. Like, their team got so much better. He's going to continue to get the same amount of ice time because he's in Ottawa, and that's what they do to their star defenseman. But the hits and the blocks are there. He's fantastic. I love Thomas Chabot. And you're right, he gets kind of passed up a lot. But, man, I think he's going to be a great play this year.
They have plenty of streamers, too. They got, like, Matthew Joseph, Parker Kelly, Sneaky Bangs, Austin Watson, Bangs, Shane Pinto.
Artem Zub.
Zuby. Yeah, you gotta love Zub. Matthew Joseph, like last year, he saw some top six time and was really valuable. That's gone. So, there's a line 3 ceiling here. Pierre Dorion just went on God mode this offseason. So we already kind of talked about the goaltending at the top of Ottawa here. I do strongly believe that Talbot pulls volume. It might not be like 70% volume, but I think you said 60-40. That sounds about right. Prospects, they still got Shane Pinto. Jake Sanderson could make an appearance. Probably will make an appearance this year. Ridley Grigg, Tyler Boucher. They've got some guys. Toronto, closing out our previews. Zach, as you said, saving the best for last. That'll make some people happy. They finished 4th this year, 54, 21, and 7. Second in goals for per game, 14th most goals allowed per game. Top ranked power play in the league. Team save percentage ranked 22nd. Their key additions and subtractions. A lot of movement here. Matt Murray, Ilya Samsonov, Calle Yarncroke, Nick Aube-Kubel, Victor Mete, Adam Gaudette are in. Out, Jack Campbell, Peter Mrazek, Ilya Mishiev, Andrei Kasha, Colin Blackwell, Ilya Lyubushkin. What happens with this goaltending, Tam? Like, what happens here?
I'm not happy about having Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov as my goalies. However, I am thrilled to not have Peter Mrazek on my team. I am so happy about that. I really am. It's a win for me, even though I lost Jack Campbell out of this deal and I get Matt Murray instead. I'll take it if I don't have to have Peter Mrazek wearing blue.
Toronto's super easy to talk about. Like, Austin Matthews, he's top 3 off the board. A lot of people are talking about him top 2. How many goals do we get? 60, 65? Where's your bet?
I mean, I don't know. I don't like talking about that kind of stuff with Austin Matthews.
50 is a floor. 55
yeah,
you're the floor.
You're gonna make me look bad because I'm biased. I can't help me but love. I think he's got Austin Matthews.
He's got a real chance at 60 again. I don't think that's out of the question.
No, because he's still gonna take a ton of shots. Dude had 348 shots on goal.
It's insane.
On goal.
Dude, if he played a full 82, I think 65 was there. He was 9 games short, and he was almost a goal per game. It was insane. I think he would have hit 65. I do. As soon as he gets 61, he's not happy anymore. He needs to get 65. That's how he is.
And I think he wants to do it. But yeah, I mean, he just takes so many shots. 50 is the hard floor. Basement floor.
Mitch Marner.
I also have Mitch Marner at number 2.
100-point season on the way?
Yes, I think so.
I think so too.
Yes, I think so. I don't see why it couldn't happen. I still think that they're going to stick with this Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner combination. And I think they're going to go with the duels that they have doing. And I don't see why they would change it. You have Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner on one line. And you have John Tavares and William Nylander on the other line. And in that, you have 2/3 wheels that you're just automatically turning into, either draft options or streamer options. You have Michael Bunting, clearly. I think that he is going to be, very draftable this year. Do I think that he has a very good chance of regression? Of course he does, because he kind of broke out last year out of nowhere. But at the same time, he is going to be in that top 6. So whether he's playing with Austin Matthews, who is one of the best players in the entire world, or a line with John Tavares and William Nylander, that's better than fucking we were talking about Arizona's top line. That's better than Arizona's top line. You know what I mean? And that's the second line. That's a top line on a bunch of teams in the league. So even if he is, I think it's your top 6 right there, and Morgan Riley. Those are the people you're looking at. That's exactly just the truth.
So what's your order there? So for me, it's Matthews, Marner, then Riley, Nylander, Tavares, Bunting.
I am so close. I just had Tavares and Nylander switched. Because I've been doing mine in what I kind of would pick them in, and I have Matt, Marner, Morgan Riley, John Tavares, then Nylander, and then Bunting, and then my streamers start.
I have Nylander. I like, he continues to get better, almost touching a point per game this year. He's a winger, so I'm going to give him the edge. John Tavares, not a bad season. Usually he's good for 70, but came very close to point per game as well this year. We don't know if it's going to be Kerfoot, if it's going to be Robertson, if it's going to be Bunting on that other spot, so that remains to be seen. But I like Nylander better. What is Michael Bunting's 27-year-old, sophomore season look like? That was very scripted. I wrote it here as another.
It was also
just mean. One final jab.
It was also just mean. You know what I mean? It's not his fault maybe it is his fault that he got moved up that late. But still, at the same time, you have two elite players that are 90 to 100 point players. If he is playing with them all year, which likely he'll be playing with them at least most of the year, I think that he's a 60-point player, if not more. If he is really playing with them, I think he could get above 70, solely because I don't see him, having any chance of that top power play unit. And I think that's what really would kind of bolster him to, that next level, if you would. You know what I mean? He's not going to be a point per game player until, if possible at all, unless he's getting power play time with the big boys.
I'm taking the under on 70, that's for sure, with Michael Bunting. For sure.
I said he's more like a 60-point player, but he has a chance at 70.
I don't know. I'm taking the under.
If you're playing with Austin Matthews, who's getting 100 points, and you're playing with Mitch Marner, who's going to have 90 points, then, yeah, I think 70 is possible.
Maybe. I'm still going to take the under. He did it last year with 200-point players and got a 65-point pace. And it didn't feel real. That's just me. I like him, but, it is what it is. Streamers for me, Kerfoot, Robertson, Muzzin, Giordano even, take your pick. Robertson, if he winds up in the top 6, that's as good a spot you can be. Kerfoot, if he's the other top 6 guy, really it's like you said earlier, it's just whoever's in that top 6. That's it. And then it kind of, I don't much like this third line. Calle Yarncroke will always have a soft spot in my heart because he won me like $80 on DFS when we used to play every night in the kitchen. But I don't have it right now. Goaltending. We've been avoiding this one. This could go any way. It could go a bunch of different ways. Like Murray gets hurt, Samsonov takes over, Samsonov does well, Samsonov does poorly. Murray stays healthy. Murray surprises everyone under the spotlight, does well, or Murray flops and is the Matt Murray that we've grown to know over the past few years.
Murray has dropped
which one do you think?
So hard. He has dropped so hard in drafts. Like, I feel like he's someone... I feel like you should draft Matt Murray. I do. I feel like you should draft Matt Murray. But the whole thing is because you don't have to draft him, anytime early. You can draft him in the 8th or 9th round, when that goalie runs really starts going. But if I'm going 0G and Matt Murray is my number one goalie, I am perfectly fine with that.
Ooh, I'd be nervous as fuck, but that's what you get.
Well, if you're going 0G, you're not going to have,
Yeah.
You're not going to have a Shesterkin.
True.
You're going to end up with a Binnington and a Murray, or an Anton Forsberg and a Murray, something like that. Like, that's what you're going to end up with. It's just fact.
Their prospects, they have. Well, I guess before we do that, like, what's your projection? What's your bet? What's the outcome for you? Like me, I'm not getting my hopes up, so I won't be disappointed.
Oh, I mean, I'll climax. I always do.
My gut, which is weird, my gut says Murray surprises a lot of people. Like, it's a weird feeling.
I was just the one saying that people should draft Murray, so I'm inclined to agree with you.
I think he's the starter on a top 5 team in the league, so yeah. Go for it. But Murray has had injury problems, and I wonder. I think he will like being the guy. Like, he was the savior in Pittsburgh, and he really thrived under that. And I think Toronto's a huge market. Maybe the pressure gets to him, but if he gets some steam in.
Well, he was in Pittsburgh earlier in his career, and And that's not that it's a huge market or anything like that, but there are expectations.
All right. Actually, I want to open this one up to Twitter. At FHF Hockey. Give me your Matt Murray projections, please. I want to see what the pulse is on Matt Murray. And even Ilya Samsonov. So hit me up on Twitter because I'm just wildly curious and what you guys are thinking. Like, part of me really thinks that this is going to work. But going out on air and saying this, it's hard. Prospects: Matthew Nees, Nicholas Robertson, Topi Niemela, Rodion Amirov. There's some guys there, but a lot of them are second rounders. That's what happens. Like, they trade a lot of first rounders. So the second round in Toronto is essentially a first round pick. So these guys get shots and they make their way. So that is it for our divisional previews, guys. Let us know what you think. You guys can leave a review. Please leave a review on iTunes with some words and some stars. That would be rad. You can find us on Twitter at FHF Hockey. You can join the Fantasy Hockey Discord. Get in on those mocks, man. We got Monday, Wednesday, Friday mocks running every single week. 3 mocks a week. It's insane. So come have some fun in the Discord and say what's up. So until then, we got our rankings coming out next week. We're starting with left wing, moving to right wing and center. Then we're doing D, then goalie. I think we're going to have Kevin Woodley on the show too. So we're going to be talking to him about some goalies. Hopefully get some Matt Murray clarity. That would be amazing. I always love having him on the show. But until next time, guys, we love you.
Love you.